The Fat Guardians. And welcome back. It's been a while. Slightly above mediocre. That's what I aspire to. I know I'm not going to be the best, but I can be pretty decent in what I do. I'm right at mediocre in PvP. I'm pretty decent in PvE. And I have lots of time spent playing this game. I know a thing or two about this game, but I might not know it all. I will give some decent advice. Will it be the best? Probably not. Will it be helpful? Absolutely. Some people may say these are totally inadequate strats and that these tips suck. And if they want to one-phase solo every boss, they can do that. These tips are not for the instant boss melt. These tips are for people who would like to just generally do better in a raid and want to know little things they can do to help instead of hinder their group. Also, be willing to listen. If you do something on this list and your raid team is calmly and politely asking you to do something different, listen to what they have to say and try to adjust accordingly. Nothing here is set in stone, and certain things might be better in certain raids. Timestamps to certain topics are in the description below. Let's go. Before we begin, let's talk really quickly about armor stats. These do a lot in the game, but let me just give you a quick overview of the basics and what I go for. These randomly drop on all armor, and each stat piece adds together for your total. Notice on my helmet, I have 15 mobility, 19 resilience, 4 recovery, 21 discipline, 4 intellect, and 8 strength. On my gauntlets, I have other stats. Now, I have stats on every single piece of my armor. And adding them together gives me my total stats, which you notice over here on the right, and you can also notice in the middle when you have your character screen up. But if I'm looking over here, I will notice that on my character right now, resilience is high, intellect is high, strength is high, but the other ones aren't as high. And I will tell you why I have those there. Now, first, mobility. If we look at mobility, it says it increases your movement speed and maximum jump height. Honestly, mobility is not that big of a deal. If you're looking here, it helps reduce the cooldown of the Hunter class ability, but honestly, don't worry about mobility on any of your characters. Titan, Warlock, Hunter, I wouldn't worry about it in a raid. Your type of jump you have and how you're doing it are going to affect more than anything, and so honestly I wouldn't really worry about that. The first stat I would worry about having a lot of is resilience. Now, resilience, it says, increases the amount of damage you can take before dying and increases your shield capacity. It basically adds 1 or 2 hits before you die, and it helps you stay alive longer. The next one I would look at is recovery. It increases the speed at which you regain lost health. So if you get shot and then you stop getting shot, the more recovery you have, the faster you can start the health recovery process. Now for me, I don't do a lot of recovery because I just say if I have a lot of resilience, I'm not going to die as much. But for a new player, you might look into recovery. Next is discipline. This helps decrease the cooldown of your grenade so you can use it more often. Intellect. Intellect decreases the cooldown of your super ability, allowing you to use it more often. Now, I personally go for resilience and intellect. I like to have my super more often, and I like to be harder to kill. Strength. Decreases the cooldown time of your melee ability, allowing you to use it more often. Now, I have said that I like intellect and resilience. But as a new player or somebody looking to get a little bit better, resilience and recovery are probably what you're going to look at. Now, you might say, ACV the man, how can you figure out how to find different armor stats and how do I get different ones? Well, if I go over here and I look at these armor pieces, this Sunlit Grips, I've upgraded it to full, and so it's got a little bit of extra. But if you notice, it has certain mobility and all those stats. If I go here, it has certain mobility and stuff, right? That's built into this armor piece. Well, I got a different armor piece to drop, and I look over here, and this armor piece has 16 resilience, 13 intellect, and it just doesn't stack up. So if I compare these two, if I hold the right trigger on controller or whatever button it is on the PC, it just does not add up. Notice how this piece of armor is worse than the armor I currently have. This just is something that I'm not going to use it, so I'm going to dismantle it. It doesn't help add to my build. Now, one other thing that you might be aware of is on my Ghost Shell, there is a armor mod that can help you get drops that have better stats towards what you like. I do resilience as the most, so I want a minimum of 10 resilience, and I'm more likely to drop with high resilience. Maybe you're looking for more intellect. You can put the intellect armor piece on. I have some other mods on there too, but level up your ghost and put on these mods that you want so the pieces of armor that drop have the armor stats that you want. But it doesn't really matter what you are going for. Please note that 100 is maximum of the stat, so even though I have 101 resilience, I don't get extra resilience after that. So just making sure that you are aware of these armor stats, and as you get armor, look how they add together to get your totals. And if you can, as a new player, resilience and recovery are probably what you want. If you want to just do resilience like I do and look for something else, that's fine too. My second best play, like I like to do, is resilience intellect. A lot of super and a lot of resilience. Now, I've done something to add to my strength, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But it's up to you how you want to play. Some people like lower resilience and higher other stats. But if you want to stay alive as a new player, grab that resilience. Now, let's talk about armor mods. These help change your gameplay in honestly drastic ways. You need to spend materials to level up your armor so they can hold more mods. So for example, this piece of gear that I have has 1 energy. I have to spend materials like legendary shards and glimmer to level it up so it can have more energy. Now, you may say, Ace be the man, what's the point of having more energy? Well, I can add more mods on there. So I can add a mod in this slot, and then in this slot, and now this takes up 3 energy, so it took up 3 of those spots. This mod takes up 1, so it takes up 1 of those, and then I have 3 more, and then I can have these 3 mods. When I didn't have this leveled up, I couldn't have those mods on there, and so that's why you want to level up your armor. Now, it does become expensive. You need enhancement prisms and legendary shards, so if you can't get all of the mods on there that you want, that's fine. Just play the game and level up the armor as you can, and just pick the mods that you can that you like. I'm aware that different playstyles and builds can benefit from different mod choices, and I know that some of the ones I'm showing you are basic jack of all trades mods, but these will help any mod team if you equip them, or any raid team, excuse me. The first thing I want to tell you are the armor stat mods. So I talked about armor stats in the last section, and this piece of armor has 17 intellect. And if you notice, it doesn't have a lot of resilience, recovery, whatever. But what if I wanted more resilience? I can come over here, and we have mods that literally add to your stats. We have minor mods and just regular mods. Now notice how the minor mod adds 5 resilience. Boom, I went from 10 to 15. But what if I wanted to add even more? I could go from 10 to 20, and now I have a lot of resilience on this armor piece. But notice it takes up more armor slots. So if you don't have a certain stat you want, you can put the different mods on the different armor pieces. If you notice, if I go back to my mods here, I have added intellect mods to some of my pieces. I've added strength mods. And then on my helmet, I believe I'm going to add a minor resilience mod. And so I have literally added perks and added things, mods, that would help increase my stats so I can get more of them. Now, I have strength added here because of my character, but if I could set this and have like 100 intellect and 100 resilience. And so these mods, the first mods on every single armor piece, are literally just going to help your stat mods. Now, what specific mods should I use on each armor piece? Well, let's look at them. For the helmet, I honestly recommend these mods at the very top. Special Ammo Finder, Heavy Ammo Finder. If you can, put Heavy Ammo Finder on. And then, in another spot, put Heavy Ammo Scout. What that's going to do is you have a chance to get heavy ammo when you get primary weapon kills. And then Heavy Ammo Scout, anytime that you get heavy ammo, it pops out a heavy ammo brick for your teammates. You could also go for Special Ammo Finder or Special Ammo Scout, but in a raid situation, heavy ammo is what you need to damage bosses. So heavy ammo finder is very good to use, and heavy ammo scout will help your teammates get heavy ammo too. Now, if you don't want to do that, heavy ammo finder for yourself. Another good thing to have is Radiant Light. Casting your super causes nearby allies to also increase their current armor charge by 1. We'll talk about armor charge in just a second. But if you want to have something on there other than just ammo mods, Radiant Light is something really good because it helps out by doing give you armor charge, which I can talk about later. Now, what do I want on my arms? Well, I have loader mods. It just literally helps your reload. There are a bunch of other mods up here that you can look through and see how you might like to do them. But honestly, put loader mods on there. If you notice, my heavy right now is Song of Your Youth. It is a ARC heavy machine gun. And so when it runs out of ammo, I want to be able to reload faster. So I put 2 of these ARC loaders on. Now, maybe you can't put 2 of them on. Maybe you can only put 1. Well, just put the loader on that matches your character. These dexterity mods, I wouldn't mess with them right now. I would just put a loader or 2 on, and then I would worry about other mods later. If we go back and look at our chest piece, what do I put on chest piece? I personally put reserves. What reserves mean is you have more ammo for that weapon type. Well, my heavy is an arc heavy, so now I just have more heavy ammo. Another good mod maybe to put on are these resistance mods. These resistance mods will help the incoming damage that you are taking from enemies do less. Maybe there are snipers in the raid and you're dying a lot. Throw on this sniper damage resistance. Maybe there's a whole bunch of enemies coming around you. Put this on. Maybe the boss is spewing a lot of arc at you. Put this on. If you don't have these reserve mods, put on some of the resistance mods so you take even less damage. What about the leg armor? For the leg armor, this is where I put on these things called surges, and this is where your armor charge comes on. If you put on any mod that has blue, it turns on the armor charge system, which is basically anytime you collect an orb of power, you end up getting a stack of armor charge. Armor charge allows you to do many things, but these weapon surges right here allow you to do extra damage when you have armor charge. They go away over time, but let's say you're doing boss damage, somebody pops a super, you grab an orb of power, you now have armor charge, and your weapons are now just going to do more damage against the bosses. There are a bunch of other mods you can look at, but honestly, the 2 that I would look for is either this weapon surge to help you do more damage with your heavy weapon type, and, by the way, you need to pick the surge for your heavy weapon. If I were to pick this machine gun right here, which I wouldn't, but if I were to pick the machine gun, it would be strand. So I would need to go in here and change this to a strand surge so it matches the heavy machine gun. The only other perk that I would put in this last slot are these scavenger mods, which just means you get more ammo every time you pick up an ammo brick for that type. So if I put arc scavenger, when I pick up a heavy brick, I get more ammo for my arc weapons. So it's whatever you would like to do. I personally put the surges on. Scavengers, though, can give you more heavy ammo if you need them. And then, honestly, for your armor, your class ability, if you would, honestly, for new players, I might recommend this Fauna Restoration. When you have an Orb of Power, you get armor charge, and it allows you to gain a bonus to recovery, so your health comes back faster. But honestly, on this page, put whatever you want. Down here, it's just sort of up to you, because there's a lot of good mods. There's a lot of finisher mods. I don't personally mess with the finisher mods, but if you want to look into them, you can. But just, for me, for me right now, I want more grenades, and so I have a whole bunch of these small grenade mods on. It's up to you to whatever you want to do in this last column. This is sort of where you can experiment. I do recommend looking through all the mods, experimenting, looking online, and seeing what different things that you can have. But honestly, The mods that I recommend there are just your basic run-of-the-mill mods that'll just help you be that much better when you are playing Destiny 2. Now let's talk weapons. This is one part of the video that can take a long time and can be very subjective. There are different types of weapons, different spots for weapons, different weapon perks, different weapon mods, variations of the same weapon type. It can all get confusing. Honestly, there are better weapons than others and perks that can definitely help out. But I'm going to keep the primary and secondary sections short. Use what you're comfortable with. If you're a really good shot, a sniper rifle secondary might be good. If your aim sucks, an auto rifle primary would do well. I basically only live by 2 rules. In a raid, in PvE, you need to have one weapon in kinetic or energy, the top and middle slot, that uses primary ammo, and one weapon that uses special ammo. Your primary, that uses primary ammo, will be the most used weapon. That's why it's called primary. It does the least amount of damage though. It's good for taking out smaller enemies, but not so good at bigger bosses or boss enemies, right? Your special ammo is what you use to attack bigger bosses or heavier enemies in the game. But for me personally, have one primary and one secondary that uses special. You could have them in either slot. You could have a primary and a secondary. But honestly, you need a weapon that is very good, does damage, can kill smaller enemies, and then a weapon that is going to help take out bigger enemies really quickly. The other rule I say is have weapons that are of 2 ranges for a raid. So for me personally, if I was going to go do a mission, an in-game mission or a raid right now, if I have an auto rifle and a sniper rifle, that's pretty good. The auto rifle does damage sort of up close. The sniper rifle does damage sort of far away. If I wanted to switch over here and have my hand cannon and my fusion rifle, the fusion rifle is like medium range. The Judgment, medium to short range. The Judgment is just short range. And so I've got a couple different ranges covered. Now, does it really matter that you have a long range and a short range? Not really. But honestly, use the weapon that feels good, that can do a lot of damage, and make sure you have one special and one primary. Now, can you run with 2 primaries? Absolutely. Can you run with 2 specials? Not really. You're going to run out of ammo really quickly. Primaries have unlimited ammo. Specials don't. If you want to run with 2 primaries, that's fine. Different primaries do different things, and they might have different perks. But for me personally, have one weapon that is a shorter range, one weapon that's longer range, one weapon that is primary ammo, one weapon that is special ammo, and you should be doing really well. Just experiment with what weapons feel good for you. And honestly, use whatever you want. Once again, though, if the raid team says, hey, do you have a sniper rifle? You might pull it out and try to kill some of these enemies. Or, hey, that hand cannon you're using is probably not good. Do you have an auto rifle? Listen to your teammates with you. But use whatever you feel comfortable with. It doesn't really matter. I'll talk about exotics later. But use whatever you're comfortable with and just get ready to have fun and know that you can kill enemies whatever you're using. So the next section I'm going to talk about is weapon perks. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, use whatever feels good. I'm going to talk about heavies, and I'm going to talk about exotics in just a little bit. But for your weapons, use whatever feels good. Honestly, there are better perks, and some of your raid team members might give you some suggestions. But if you would like to know, go to this website right here, light.gg. This website right here allows you to check on the roles and check out what people are using for your gun. For example, I have a gun right now from the event in Destiny, the Into the Light event called Succession. It is the sniper rifle. So, if I were to search Succession sniper rifle, and there are many different versions here, but if I were to go through here and show that we have sniper rifles, season 23, that's the highest number. So let's click on the highest number 1. Okay? And so it's going to load up this weapon right here and shows it's the limited time version. Okay, great. So we can see all sorts of different things. These are the base stats. These are all the perk combinations it can have, and just everything for this weapon. It tells you what you're going to get when you get the weapon the first time, and it shows you a couple of different things throughout here. If we're looking through this weapon right here, it tells you a bunch of things that for you to see. Starting at the top, it tells you right here where you can get it. We're getting it from a limited time event. Sometimes they can tell you where you're going to get some other things too, but Mike can tell you where you're going to get it. It tells you a little bit more about the weapon here and just different things you can do with it, the different masterworks it can drop with, the different perks it can drop with. But looking down here, if you're looking, okay, what is popular? Well, looking down here, you can see that we have PvE for blue, PvP for red, and a mix of PvP for gold, right? PvE and PvP. So if you look over here, we notice, oh, a lot of people like Arrowhead Break for PvE. Well, Arrowhead Break greatly controls recoil, it adds 20 handling, it increases reload speed, so that might be good. We notice for PvP, a lot of people like this fluted barrel. So you can look and see, oh, I got one with Arrowhead Break. It might be pretty good. Looking in the second column of the different perks they have, you can see, oh, we can get Tactical Mag, which slightly increases reload speed, slightly increases magazine's size. There's one Extended Mag, increases magazine size. Oh, they like that in PvE. In PvP, they like Accurized rounds, which increases the range. We look over here and see, oh, well, this Demolitionist perk gives you grenade abilities back. There's one perk, picking up heavy ammo, also grants ammo to this weapon. Ooh, cool, that sounds cool. Up here, though, oh, Reconstruction. People like this for PvE. It adds weapon, it literally reloads itself. It can reload past the normal magazine. Discord, Final Blows with another weapon, grant this weapon. So it's like, oh, what perks are good according to the community? Now, granted, you might like a perk that is not liked by the community. Like, I like Reconstruction and Box Breathing on this weapon. Are there other perks that work better? Yes. But if you want to know what perks are good, light.gg. Then you can go down here and see, sometimes it'll tell you like the percentages of rolls that other people have, and it might be loading shortly, but I apologize about that. But let's go to light.gg, right? And let's look up a different weapon. Let's look up the Glissando 47 Scout Rifle. Okay. Glissando 47 Scout Rifle. Okay, great. There it is. Let's click it. Oh, hey, look, we can open legendary engrams and earn faction up packages to potentially get it. Oh, so literally just ranking up like the gunsmith or different things like that. It's a precision frame weapon. It tells you all about it right here. These are just random things. It can have a stability masterwork, or reload speed masterwork. It can have a range masterwork, all that kind of stuff. Here are the different perks it can have, and you can see what the perks are. If I scroll down here, this gun can have Reconstruction. People like it to have a Reconstruction for PvE, Overflow for PvE, and you're like, what are some of these perks do? We'll just hover over them and see what they do. But what I like about a lot of the times, now the other weapon didn't have this, but I can look down here and see, what are some popular trait combos? The people that are using this use Reconstruction Hatchling on this weapon. Okay? Reconstruction reloads itself. Hatchling, when you get a precision final blow or rapidly defeating targets, you might spawn a Threadling, which is a strand thing that just can go damage enemies. There are other different combinations, Reconstruction, Box Breathing, there are just different things on here. And if you look, 20% of the people that have this weapon, like Arrowhead Break, they have it, they keep it. 27% have Reconstruction. 12.2% have Perfect Float. So Perfect Float is not that popular. Yeah, okay. Box Breathing is popular, and Hatchling is the most popular. So it can just give you different ideas of what perks might be good, what perks people are liking. But if you come down here and you like Cascade Point, which final blows or hits with another weapon increases weapon's rate of fire for short duration, you might want that one. You might want Reconstruction Cascade Point. So for you right now, it's literally just what you want. It's what you want to look at, and just find what works well. If you get one of these where you have Arrowhead Break and you have some of these perks over here, and you're like, it just feels weird, and then you get another one that has a different barrel perk like Chambered Compensator, and you're like, this one feels better for me. Use what feels good for you. But I would just recommend this website, light.gg, look up your weapon, see what other people think, and then make your decisions on what you want to use based upon how it feels in game, and sort of your decisions based upon looking at some of these perks. If you need help, ask people that you play with, hey, is this good? Is this doing well? This is a very good website to help you see what might be good to use. All right, so we talked about your primary and secondary weapon, but let's talk about heavy weapons. There are a lot of different kinds of heavy weapons in the games. We have machine guns, linear fusion rifles, we have rocket launchers, there are swords, there are also heavier grenade launchers, and there are also... what else? I think those are just the regular heavy grenade launchers. However, there are some exotics we'll talk about in just a little bit, but I'm going to tell you right now, honestly, unless you get a good roll on something like the Storm Chaser, or you craft another linear fusion rifle or something, you're going to want to use a machine gun or a rocket launcher. I'll tell you why. If you're looking at swords, you have to be really close. Only certain bosses will allow you to damage them with swords. Linear fusion rifles are okay, but you're going to have to get those and get the right perks. For newer players, honestly, the aiming might be a little bit harder to hit crit spots. Heavy grenade launchers suck. They don't have the ammo economy to make their damage work. So I'm going to recommend a machine gun or a rocket launcher. Now, when we're talking about machine guns, they have a lot of ammo, and depending on the perks, they can hit pretty hard. Are they the best? No. Are they probably decent? Yes. The only thing I'm going to tell you is, if you are to get a machine gun, look for perks that help it out. Now, this is from a raid. I've done the raid enough times. I've crafted it. So I have a perk that reloads itself to double capacity. So instead of 57 in the magazine, I have 104. Then I have 114. With target lock, damage increases as you keep it on target. So as long as I'm shooting the same target, it keeps damaging it. This is a stellar combo for this weapon because it has a lot of bullets, and the more I shoot, it helps it ramp up. There are some machine guns that just aren't very good. So when you're looking for a machine gun, look for perks that help with the damage. Now, for rocket launchers, they're rocket launchers. They are pretty much the king. Now, once again, I found a perk that helped its damage, and you will need to do that too. But rocket launchers are easy to use, point, click. There are some bosses that will move around a lot, but honestly, rocket launchers are a very good choice. The only thing I will say about rocket launchers is please be aware if you're using a aiming frame, the one that says the rockets launch on, they do less damage. If you can make a heavy work, like a linear fusion rifle, that's fine. But honestly, if you're using a legendary, which are the purple-colored heavy weapons, you need to use a rocket launcher or a machine gun. Now, just like before, you need to go to light.gg and this other website called Destiny Tracker or the Tracker Network. If you search destinytracker.com, you can look up all your stats if you go in, but here's something that I use. Right here, it shows the PvP meta, what weapons are being used. And if I click View All, I can actually change this to PvE. Oh, the highest used PvE weapon right now is something called the Sunshot. It's an exotic. It does really well. The next one is a rocket launcher called Apex Predator. How can you get these? Well, go over to Destiny 2, light.gg, and we're going to put Apex Predator, An Apex Predator pops up, and we're like, okay, there's a rocket launcher, and how do we get it? You're going to get it from the raid, but you can look here and see all the different perks for this weapon. There are different ways to wind up getting it, but all the different perks for this weapon. If we actually go back and let me look at, oh crap, I apologize, Apex Predator. If it says something like you're not sure where it's from, source the last Swiss raid, you can go look at some of the earlier versions to tell you where you're going to get it. You can there are certain things in the game, or just search up online how to find it, but if you're looking up Apex Predator, but if you go down here, and we're going to click on this one right here, it might not tell you where to get it, but look at the different versions. They can tell you, or Google just where to find them. But, once again, well, Apex Predator is a top-tier rocket launcher. Well, why? Well, these are some of the perks you can get. Wow. Picking up an orbit power increases blast radius and damage. Oh, if you deal damage with all equipped weapons within a short amount of time, you get more damage. You can add a tracking module, which doesn't actually make the damage go down because it's not a precision frame rocket launcher. So you can go and see, a lot of people have bipod. Now, bipod does make the damage go down. A lot of people have it for some reason. But you can look and see, just what are the perks? You can go back here and see, what's another good weapon? Well, Hammerhead right now is a legendary machine gun that we're getting from the Into the Light. So Hammerhead, what's a good role for it? Well, let's look. There are lots of good perks that can help increase its damage. Okay? So what you need to do is look for those perks. Now, use the heavy once again. That is comfortable for you. However, I recommend for new players a rocket launcher or a machine gun. If the boss is moving around a lot, maybe find a machine gun with some damage perks. Or if it's standing still, or you can hit it with a rocket launchers are going to help. So just be aware that pretty much use what you can. And once again, listen to your team. If your team says, hey, do you got something and want to try to use it? That's fine. Light.gg can help you see the god rolls and the good rolls and what's being used. And Destiny Tracker can help you see what is being used the most in certain activities. Now, exotics. Exotics are either random drops, they come from quests, you can buy them from Xur, but exotics are just extra special weapons that have specific perks or make them a little bit different. This is called the Crimson. This is a hand cannon that randomly drops from exotic engrams, and this hand cannon is a 3-round burst. Hand cannons aren't 3-round bursts. It also, when you get a kill, heals you. So it's got a little bit of an extra perk on there. It's really, really good. This is one to use if you want to heal yourself. Another one that you can randomly use, if you randomly get dropped, is Soros Regime, because the bottom half of the magazine does bonus damage, and there's a chance to return health on kill. Another one to use you might like is the Monte Carlo. The Monte Carlo, basically, you have a chance to reduce your melee cooldown or a chance to fully charge your melee cooldown. So if you want your melee ability a lot, use this weapon. Those three will randomly drop. But one that you can get from the exotic kiosk in the tower, which you might have to go to the exotic kiosk in the tower to look how to get it, but is Wither Horde. Now, Wither Horde, projectiles fired by this weapon blight the target or nearby enemy area on impact. So basically it just gives a area of effect damage and can be really helpful killing a lot of things at once. This one you do have to do something for, the exotic kiosk in the tower, but it's worth it if you can get it. In the energy slot, the same thing here with Polaris Lance. You need to go to the exotic kiosk, but the Polaris Lance just does a lot. Precision hits return ammo to the magazine, so if you get a precision hit, you get the ammo back. Landing 4 precision hits, loads a delayed solar explosive round that scorches targets for your next shot. So basically, you just get a big boom if you land 4 headshots in a row. This is a good one to have if you go to the exotic kiosk and get it. Some other random drops are Hard Light. Hard Light rounds fired from this weapon have reduced damage, fall off upper pin targets, and ricochet off hard surfaces. Basically, there's no damage fall off. You can shoot an enemy from a long way away. Now, it is an auto rifle, so you do have to watch. You have to have your aim pretty good if they're further away. And then if you hold X, it cycles between the 3 light subclasses. It's just a pretty good weapon. Another one that you can get is Sunshot. This is one of the top hand cannon or the top weapon in PvE right now because it just goes so well with the seasonal artifact and with solar subclasses. But this weapon fires explosive rounds and highlights targets that take damage from Sunshot. Just does well. Targets defeated with Sunshot, so get a kill, explode in solar energy. So it just is an ad clearing machine. Another one that might give you a lot of damage is Cold Heart. Cold Heart is basically, it's a trace rifle. It shoots a laser, and the longer your laser's on somebody, the more damage it does to them. That's a good one to get. In heavy slot, if you're in the season 24 current season, either buy the season pass or get to level 35 to get your Dragon's Breath. It is one of the top damage dealing rocket launchers right now, even without the catalyst. Even without the extra that it does. It is just a top tier rocket launcher that does a lot of damage. One that you can get literally for just playing right now is the Thunderlord. And it's one of the highest damage dealing machine guns. And if you want to use a machine gun, use this. Final blows of this weapon generate stunning lightning strikes from above. But just hitting damaging an enemy does lightning strikes. So you're just going to get extra damage from lightning strikes, literal lightning out of the sky from attacking with this weapon. If you can get the 30th anniversary, get the Grasp of Alber's Dungeon and go through this, Gallowhorn is a really good rocket launcher. Rockets fired split into tracking clusters, and it gives those extra Wolfpack rounds to legendary rocket launchers that can just help with DPS. Now, once again, this one's behind a paywall, but it's good to have if you can get it. But sort of once again, what exotic you use is up to you. If you don't have to use an exotic if you don't want to, I typically do. Honestly, I typically have an exotic heavy just because they tend to do more damage. But it's up to you what exotic you want to use. And honestly, just talk to your fire team. Anybody who's really willing to help will help you figure it out. These are some examples of good exotics that are world drops or fairly easy to get by either going to the tower or the 30th anniversary if you want to buy that little bit of DLC. But just these exotics are good ones to have. Now, once again, find the exotics you like to use and use those exotics. Look on light.gg to see what their perks are or different things like that. But honestly, find an exotic that works for you. Now, the last section of the video, I'm going to focus on classes and subclasses. What you should use with different classes. What are some things that will work really well? Now, are these going to be the best abilities? No. Are they going to do really well? Yes. So let's look at Titan first. Excuse me, I did not mean to click that button. Let's click on Titan first. I recommend 2 subclasses for Titan, especially for a raid. The first one I recommend is Sunbreaker with the Hammer of Soul. Hammer of Soul, when you pop your super, you throw flaming hammers at the bad guys, does a lot of damage. I would recommend using Strafe Jump if you're a new player because it helps you control yourself in the air. I would recommend using the Throwing Hammer because if you're doing the Throwing Hammer and you hit an enemy and pick it up, you start curing yourself, which means you get health back. And then I recommend the Healing Grenade. The Healing Grenade, you can throw it down and get different things, or get health back, excuse me. The 2 aspects I would recommend are Soul Invictus and Roaring Flames. Roaring Flames is just, you get final blows of solar abilities or ignitions, help make your solar abilities do more damage. And then Soul Invictus is solar ability final blows, Hammer Assault impacts, defeating scorched target creates sunspots, and sunspots do a bunch of things down there that you can read. There is another aspect, but honestly I wouldn't really worry about it too much for new players. Now, fragments down here, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. Use whatever fragments you want. I would read through them, and I would see which ones I I would read through them and see which ones you like, see which ones sort of do your playstyle, because like depending on if you have a solar weapon or not, you may not can use the Ember of Tempering. Right now with the seasonal artifact, you can get Radiant pretty easily. Well, I don't have anything that gives me Radiant on my Titan, but I have stuff that extends Radiant, so it sort of interacts with the perks on the seasonal artifact. But just right now, honestly, I would just use whatever you want down here. The only thing I'd be aware, some of them take away certain stats, like this one takes away recovery, and some of them add stats, like this one adds 10 resilience, so that might affect your build and your armor mods that you might want to use. The other class I would honestly recommend using for Titans is the Striker Titan with the Thunder Crash super. It's basically your giant Superman. When you run into the enemy, you explode, you do a lot of damage. It can work on most bosses. Some of them won't work. I would recommend using Strafe Lift again. Honestly, use whatever punch you want on this one. It's up to you. And then I'd recommend using this Pulse Grenade here, because you throw it down, it does a lot of damage, and it just sort of stays there on target. The two aspects I would use for this is Touch of Thunder. Your grenades do more damage, or do different things. So right here, if you use the Pulse Grenade, it creates Ionic Traces, and if you get Ionic Trace from damaging an enemy and it touches you, you get ability energy back. And then I would use this one right here, Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy. So hurt an enemy or break their shield and you get an arc melee. Just punch and increases your melee range and damage. And defeating targets with melee starts health regeneration. You can go around just punching a whole bunch of stuff with this and you get health regeneration back. For exotics, if you can get... Now, exotic armor pieces are like exotic weapons. They drop from either quest randomly. You don't have to have an exotic piece, but if you can get an exotic piece, the ones I'd recommend is on Solar. I would recommend this Lorelei Helm. When you're critically wounded and have full class ability energy, or when you cast a barricade, you create a sunspot right where you are that has improved restoration effects. Basically, if you have full class ability energy, you can basically just get an instant heal on you wherever you are. If you are running Thunder Crash, if you can get this, I would recommend using Curious of the Falling Star. Greatly increases your Thunder Crash impact damage and gave an overshield the longer you travel before striking a target. Overshield's not really that big of a deal, but increased Thunder Crash damage, basically your super just does more damage. A neutral game exotic that I like to use, if you can get Exactium Warrig, it steadily reloads a portion of your equipped auto rifle or machine guns magazines from reserves. You basically just get a bigger magazine with machine guns and with auto rifles. Using Actium Warrig with Thunderlord, you literally do not have to reload that gun when shooting bad guys. If you can get the catalyst for Thunderlord and you can get it on, you literally just don't have to reload when shooting a boss. So that's with Titans. So we're going to change characters and we're going to go look at Warlocks. Now, this first one I recommend is pretty easy, pretty lame. But the first one I recommend is Dawnblade, Well of Radiance. When you're going to do damage, or when you need to not die, pop this Well of Radiance, and you're literally going to have extra damage and extra heals. It's hard to kill you inside of this. What I like to use is Burst Glide, but if you need to be able to have strong directional control in the air, use Strafe Glide. Honestly, your melee doesn't matter here, but once again, it's solar, so you have a healing nade. The aspects that I personally would use are this right here. You have Touch of Flame, which increases your healing grenade strength if you have a healing grenade on, and Icarus Dash. Now, there is the Heat Rises, which could be useful if you want to use it. I use Heat Rises because I can double press B while I'm in the air, and it helps me dodge just trying to get away from bad guys. It can help me just sort of get away slightly faster. Once again, use whatever fragments you want. The other subclass I would recommend is Stormcaller with Storm Trance. Now, Chaos Reach is a very strong super against bosses, but Storm Trance can allow you basically to become Emperor Palpatine. You move around with lightning fingers and can just clear ads like nobody's business. I use Burst Glide on my Warlock. Strafe Glide's a pretty good one. I use Healing Rift. Chain Lightning, a ball lightning, whichever one you want to use. I would recommend using the Pulse Grenade again because you throw it in an area and it's just going to do a lot of damage. And the aspects I would recommend are Arc Soul. So when you cast your Rift or hold B, you get a little Arc Buddy that stands near you and fires at enemies. It's just extra damage. And your teammates can get this too. And then Electrostatic Mind. Defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates Ionic Traces. And when you get Ionic Traces, you just get ability energy back. Now, if you are running the Dawn Blade, if you can get it, I would recommend using the Phoenix Protocol. Kills and assists while standing in the Well of Radiance returns super energy. So if you pop a well, do a lot of kills or a lot of assists with other teammates, you're going to get like half your super back basically immediately. And if you are rocking the Stormcaller, this right here, Getaway Artist, you can hold your grenade button. Instead of throwing your grenade, you'll convert it into an Arc Buddy that you become amplified, and the Arc Soul has a lot of extra damage. So that Arc Soul you have when casting your Rift, you can now have it on demand when you have your grenade. So you can have Arc Soul a lot of the time, just extra damage towards enemies. Another neutral game exotic that you might have is Karnstein Armlets. Melee and finisher final blows instantly grant cure and provide restoration. This one's good to have because you just get a melee kill no matter what subclass you're on, and you start healing yourself. That's pretty much it for my recommendations on Warlock, so let's look at the Hunter. Now, which class should you play? Whatever you want to play. If you find something else that works well, do something else. But these are just my recommendations. For Hunter, I recommend one of two subclasses. Night Stalker with Deadfall Shadow Shot. I recommend Marksman's Dodge because it reloads your weapons when you dodge. I recommend Triple Jump, but use whatever jump you feel comfortable with. You only have one melee and your Vortex Grenade. What Night Stalker does is it launches what's called a tether. It's basically a bow and arrow that connects to enemies and captures them in one spot. It helps debuff them so they will take more damage and they will do less damage to you. And it can either help with crowd control with a lot of enemies, or if you hit a boss with it, you can actually make your boss take a little bit more damage from the tether. What I would recommend are these two aspects. Trapper's Ambush. When you're in the air, if you have your smoke bomb, hold B right now with your default, and you slam the ground, becoming invisible, and any teammates near you become invisible. If you're invisible, the enemies won't shoot you. You can run away from that gas that way. Also, if you just use your regular dodge ability, once you reload your weapons, with Vanishing Step, you're going to become invisible. You can run away. Once again, use the fragments that fit your playstyle. The other one I would recommend is Gunslinger. It's Blade Barrage. Blade Barrage throws out a bunch of knives at the enemy, and it does a ton of damage really quickly. Now, I recommend Gambler's Dodge for this one because it gets your knife back quicker. But if you want to use Marksman Dodge again so you can reload your weapons, do that. Once again, Triple Jump. The knives don't really matter. Which knife you have doesn't really matter. I like to use Knife Trick because it throws 3 out, and I'm probably going to hit an enemy when I do that. And then again, use your Healing Nade. The aspects I have are Knock them down. Your Solar Supers are enhanced. With Blade Barrage, you just get more blades, which just means more damage. And then on your mark, Precision Final Blows grant you and nearby allies increased handling and reload speed for a short duration. Just get Precision Headshot Final Blows, and you just reload faster. Once again, use the aspects you want. Now, some exotics I would recommend using For the Hunter, if you can get them Shards of Galinar, when you are using your Blade Barrage, Throwing Knife Final Blows increase the cooldown of your super. So if you get a Throwing Knife Final Blow, your super comes back faster. And hits and Final Blows with Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends. So use your Blade Barrage, make sure you hit a boss or enemies, and you get a lot of your super back. Another one I would recommend using is Orpheus Rig down here. The Orpheus Rig will give you super back for tethering with your Void Tether. You tether enemies. The more you tether, you get more ammo back, or super back, and so you can get your super more often. Once again, you do not have to have exotics, but those are the ones I would recommend for the Hunter subclass, and the 2 subclasses I would recommend. Now, once again, does it really matter which class you use? No. Are there some subclasses and classes that are better than others? Yes. But it's your choice. And these are just my recommendations for what do I need to do to make sure I'm beneficial to the team. If you use these, you're pretty much going to be doing okay. People may ask you if you're running a Warlock to use well. People may say if you're running Hunter to use Tether. But if you're running these subclasses I have, you're going to do pretty well. If you find a different subclass you like and works well, use them. But for somebody who's like, what do I need to do? I'm new to Destiny. These are very good recommendations. I know this is a long video, and I know this is the ramblings of just some random person that plays Destiny 2. But if you are new to the game, I think that these things can help you be a better raider and help you get better at the game. And just are some things you can do to help immediately do a little bit better than just what the heck am I doing with this game. You still might not know a lot of what you're doing with the game. That's fine. But these are just some of my tips to help new players just have an easier time being helpful when they're playing with others. Once again, my name is ACB the Man. Thank you for watching. Any pizza can be a personal pan pizza if you try hard enough.